So, you've been floating around the For Honor community for quite some time. You've probably heard a handful of terms and phrases being tossed around during games to describe and explain scenarios and playstyles. Some have very important meanings and uses, such as hyper armor and confirming. However, I'm going to be covering some of the dumbest and most useless terms and phrases used by the community. Without further ado, let's get started. Starting off with the first term, we have T-Rex arms. This occurs quite commonly in games, though you may not have heard of this being called T-Rex arms. This is when Ubisoft has noticed a hidden folder inside of your computer containing one too many pictures of Nobushi, to which they chop your hands in half to make sure you aren't reaching for anything anytime soon, especially when it comes to guard breaks. At which you are left feeling completely cucked and end up eating a 24 damage heavy just to put some extra salt on the wound. This ends up being doubly hilarious when both you and your opponent both completely whiff your guard break attempts, like a shy couple failing to get a handhold with each other for the first time.
Nope.
Either way, this interaction is quite amusing, with one player left feeling like they've just been robbed out of a very basic game mechanic that might have just cost them the entire fight. Moving on to the next term with turtling. As you can likely imagine, this involves a player acting as if the only move in their kit was Harden, and was constantly using this move. These are the players who are often referred to as turtles, who disregard all forms of attack and offense in exchange for the joy of watching paint dry. They would just stand there
Menacingly.
for minutes on end, just blocking your attacks and dodging your offense like they're dodging tax collection. However, there are special kinds of turtles who basically have thorns on their back that instead of just blocking and dodging attacks, they will parry everything and beat you to death with counterattacks. This playstyle seems very familiar though. Just make sure to use unreactable offense to break these people out of their shells. They could do with a bit of sunlight and get a glimpse of what grass looks like. Onto what is probably the most known and likely everyone's favourite term, spamming! Spamming is the result of a player removing the term mix-up from their vocabulary and opt for mashing a particular button or move until it starts developing a traumatic backstory on how physically abused it was back in Nam. This often causes major frustration to the opposing player, as they don't want to go through the effort of repeating the same counter to the same move over and over again. There are different kinds of spammers, with all sorts of different subnames stemming from the button or move they end up overusing, like a bad Family Guy joke. This includes terms such as light spamming, dodge attack spamming, bash spamming, emote spamming, and many more. But it takes a special kind of patient zero for stupid to use some of these particular terms in live games. These include feet spamming, no, not that kind of feet, parry spamming, and my personal favourite, turtle spamming. Like seriously, what the fuck is that even supposed to mean? Ah yes, I'm spamming my opponent by not pressing any buttons. This is very oppressive to my opponent and I hope they rage quit from this. Honestly, you just can't make this shit up. Finally, onto a pretty wild phrase, Make-A-Wish Ganks. This is where two or more opponents mesh into a special kind of stupid to perform enough random button pressing to create and succeed in some of the most dumb and illogical ganks that should never work in several lifetimes. The chances of these ganks working and being coordinated is so astronomically unlikely, it makes getting struck by lightning twice during your next lightning storm seem like a 100% chance occurrence. These kinds of players only wish they knew what the hell they just did to succeed their scuffed gank. And that's all I'll be covering today. I hope you enjoyed the video and had a good laugh out of it. If anyone has any terms or phrases they would like me to cover, be sure to leave a comment. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.